Good evening. Hope everybody is doing well. Man, I'll tell you, lots of craziness to go over. I've got several tabs open tonight, actually, and I actually wound up having to, I think I closed 3 out that I had open. I was like, because they were like, I'll throw 2 or 3 sometimes up there that aren't necessarily that important information, and if I wind up getting too many up there, then I just nix those stories. So, and I cover them when I go through the headlines. But anywho, got a lot of craziness going on. China's asking for the balloon back. Trying to think. There's just I'll get to it. The bad news. The last I heard a number was over 6,000 so far perish in Turkey and Syria. An absolutely insane earthquake. New York, and I'm sure you probably heard this, New York, they had a 3.8, I think it was. And see, that's pretty significant for New York. A lot of it depends on the geology of the earth, where you live, and then part of that is building code, especially here in like the United States. California homes are going to be built to a certain code, and that code's going to include for earthquakes. And here, where we live in Illinois, not so much. So even if there's 2 reasons why we would fare much differently. Let's say a 6.0, okay? Let's say a 6.0 San Francisco, I believe San Francisco, somewhere along in there. And, right along the New Madrid, 6.0. That 6.0 along that New Madrid is going to be that much more devastating because of the geology of the earth, for one, and because most of the structures aren't built to certain code for earthquakes because they're just not common. So, man, I really do think we're going to see an uptick of this. Now, before we get to the main topic that I titled after, I just want to say this. There was a lot of conspiracy talk going around about this earthquake, the Turkey-Syria earthquake, and about, this political turmoil is going on, and all of a sudden they get a big earth. No. Knock that out. This was kind of expected, actually, as far as like a ramp up in earthquake activity because of the sun. So it's not like there wasn't those factors contributing. So, and you could go watch Ben Davison, and he covers this stuff very well. And plain and simple, it was an earthquake. It wasn't some weapon, it wasn't some this or that, it was an earthquake. So I just wanted to say that because I know that there's some theories flying around out there. Okay, more on the topic, and it's something that I've talked about off and on quite a bit, but I've never really addressed it, I don't think, from this angle necessarily. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because of the times that we are in, with everything that's going on, with the economy slowing down. Companies are doing everything they can to get you to come and buy their products. And I get it. And, the slower money moves in an economy, the more dog eat dog it can get, and whatnot. But I just want people, and I'm not going to spend a long time on this subject. There's no need to. Do your due diligence when you're researching stuff to purchase for prepping and stuff like that, or anything. It doesn't have to just be prepping, anything. I am going to give you kind of some of examples of what I'm talking about and why I'm talking about it. I'll use drones. Okay, that's an easy one for me to use. I could use about anything, to be honest, but if you pay attention to the community itself, now I'm not talking about the marketing and all of that, but the community itself, they will egg people on like you wouldn't believe. I mean, if you were going to have to live in your vehicle because you spent your rent money on a drone, they would probably support you. Well, at least some of them would probably support you. It's pretty crazy over there. Like when a new drone comes out, it's pretty crazy what you see. Lots of people selling their old ones to buy the new ones and all of that. And the truth of the matter is, in many instances like this, the differences in the two models is pretty negligible. And sticking with drones as an example, and I can just go with one company, DJI. That's the only company I really know their equipment. I really wouldn't recommend a whole lot of other companies, other brands to people, not when it comes to drones. But if somebody would have come up to me and they were to ask me, for preparedness, what do I think? What's my opinion as to what drone to get? Well, here's the thing. If they were to ask me, it's going to be much different than if they were going to go to the drone community. I've got a dog that apparently don't like this subject. So anyway, hang on. I have to yell at said dog that doesn't like this subject. She quit scruffing and now she's doing the floppy fish thing on the futon. So, whatever, kid. Dog is nuts. So if somebody were to ask me, right, or if somebody were to go into the community first and ask the community, what drone should I get? Many of the community, I mean, there's a lot of people that's going to ask, well, what are your intention? What do you want to do? Are you much into photography? I mean, there are people that are going to ask you valid, important questions, but there's a hell of a lot of people that's automatically going to give you the high dollar choice, right? Mavic 3 is the latest big drone that they put out. That thing is pricey, and they've got several levels of it. And that's one of the things, too, that I kind of wanted to point out, is how some of these companies are doing their products, I always thought it was kind of funny when these phone companies started putting out these phones, and it was like they'd have like 3 versions of the same phone, and it's like, and it's not the same phone, don't get me wrong. There are different levels of the phone, and the more you pay, the more features, the bigger storage, faster, whatever. But you have to be mindful of that stuff. And while I can't use an example in drones, and I can't use necessarily an example in phones, cell phones, however, with the video card thing, and I thankfully did get mine ordered. With that, you want to talk about having to dig and dig to find out what would be my best option. And because a lot of it, and this is coming from somebody I've worked with computers for a long time. But the way they number these things, the way it's just really strange how they do the video cards now. It's weird. To me, it's weird. Man, I don't know. But again, you've got another group of people. If you're to go over there and say you want to do this or that, there a lot of people are going to automatically tell you, oh, you need the latest, a 4090, the latest, right? I couldn't tell you how much that damn thing is. It very well likely could be around $1,700 or so. I don't know. It's not going to be cheap. I'm not. It would cost me too much just to Google it. Anyway, but like with that, okay, you can actually save a little bit of money by knowing which product exactly it is that was going to be best for your needs. Going back to the drone argument on that, I would tell people, if you asked me, not to get the latest greatest. I would say, well, all in all, I think I would go with Air 2S. And it's one of the large, it's not the big Mavic drones. It's the Air series is just a little bit smaller than the regular Mavic series, like the professional line. A little smaller, not much. But the thing of it is it doesn't cost near the amount of the money as what like the Mavic 3 series does. And as far as the camera on it, that sucker's got a 1-inch sensor. It's a much better camera than what I've got on my Mavic Air 2. And so if somebody was to ask me, as long as they weren't some professional photographer or whatever, but for like prepping purposes, if somebody was to ask me what drone to get, I wouldn't tell them the Mavic 3. I wouldn't tell them, people love to spend other people's money. I would tell people flat out, Mavic Air 2S. Or they dropped the Mavic name, sorry, DJI Air 2S. Because that's your best bang for the buck. You don't, unless you're really going after thermal, because you can get that, but you're going to have to pay for it. Most people, I don't think, go that route. I would if I could, but sheesh. So be mindful of that, because as I've said before, you've got tons and tons of money getting shoved for marketing campaigns. And the prepping world is a little bit different than the hobby world in the aspect of, the prepping world usually isn't, we got to have the latest, greatest of like everything. Oh my god, could you even imagine? Trying to keep up with the latest, greatest of every single different thing prepping, or, several things prepping, that would be a nightmare. But the reason I'm saying this is even when it comes to making a single purchase, not going out and trying to buy one of everything, but even with making a single purchase, be mindful of that, because sometimes even going that extra route, if going further, okay, let me give you an example. Let's say I was a very rich idiot and somebody said, oh, you need to get the NVIDIA 4090. Okay, which is like, I think that one's out, and if I'm not mistaken, that's the biggest, baddest right this particular moment. And sure, it'll plug in, it'll fire up, but it's a big waste of money for me. Why? Because the rest of my computer's not set up for that damn thing. For one, I don't have a big enough power supply to really support that monster. I don't, my motherboard even, it would be sufficient, but I would say you'd want a better, a newer motherboard, no doubt. More memory for that much video RAM, and much faster processor. See, the speed of my processor would neuter that 4090. See, so I could have somebody convince me that that's what I needed because I do flight sim. And I could go out and spend just an insane amount of money on it. And it's only going to get me so far because the rest of the components can't keep up with it. They call it a bottleneck. As same as, you may want a drone for like the same purposes as what ours is. Just to gather local intel and stuff like that if things get crazy. To go out and spend the kind of money on like the Mavic 3 line or something even more expensive or whatever, for most of us would be pretty senseless. But again, you're going to have people that are going to try to get you to buy the biggest and the baddest, always. Be mindful of that. And the only other thing that I want to say regarding the subject is also be mindful of the influencers. And I grabbed a couple of pictures to give you a good taste. And one of them you're going to have seen, I don't know how many times. Most of you have probably seen this first one. This one shows a woman soldering a motherboard. Okay, well, there's a little bit of a problem here. The woman is holding the soldering iron by the part that gets hot. So if that soldering iron were actually plugged in, she wouldn't be standing there like that, holding it like that. She would be screaming and looking for something to calm the burning. Okay? It wasn't even plugged in. Regardless of whether it's plugged in or not, she doesn't even have enough knowledge about the product that she's holding to even hold it correctly. And you might think, well, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that meme a million times. What about that one? Lady doing the same damn thing, another soldering iron. Right? She wouldn't be holding it like that. And let me let you in on something else. Could have got a little bit of experience in it. That board that she's jabbing that cold soldering iron, that is called a surface mount board. You do not work on that board with a soldering iron like that. You use, I think they call it a rework machine, and what it does is you can dial in the amount of air pressure, the amount of airflow, and the temperature, and essentially it blows hot air onto the board, hot enough that it melts the solder, and then you use tweezers or whatever to pull the component off, and but that's how you do surface mount. You don't do surface mount with a soldering iron like that. And you definitely don't put your finger where where it gets hot. I just wanted to show those to you because don't think for a second that the same isn't going on in the industries in which, we buy products. Okay? Pretty much any product, you've got people out there, regardless of what industry. Again, drones, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus unneedingly. But there's one guy that I don't know of a bad review he's got on his channel. I don't think he's got a bad... And you might say, oh, well, maybe he won't, maybe he just won't put out a bad review. We got to be honest with ourselves at some point. Not everything is great. Some stuff sucks. And again, when it comes to that particular topic, drones, you want to be careful about what influencers you watch to give you the goods on that drone. I have no problem giving you somebody that I absolutely support what they say, and that would be Original Dobo and Ken Heron. Ken knows his way around drones. He's crashed enough of them. Anyway, yeah, Ken Heron, I gave you the straight on them as well. But just be mindful of that. And I know I use stupid examples of products and prepperish as far as like drones and stuff, but it's true in every single market. And you're gonna see what spawned us talking to you about it is we're gonna see a rise in a lot of stuff. I know you've seen a rise in crime and all that stuff, but you're also gonna see a rise in the sales, the all of that stuff. I'll tell you what, here as of lately, and I'm not one that goes up and signs up for a bunch of stuff or anything like that. I don't do really any of that stuff. I don't sign up for much new stuff, Well, here lately, my email has just been getting inundated with spam. And I'm not signing up for a bunch of stuff, so I don't know where it's coming from. And I don't know if that's the case with everybody, if everybody's got that issue going on, but I have just been getting slammed with email spam. Tons of it. Also, a lot of the email scam stuff, the phishing stuff and what have you. Lots of that stuff. I don't understand how, well, I do the phishing stuff. I know how that works, but I know there's God knows how many gift cards I've always got in there, right? Walmart. And then, I don't know, something about, I get a bunch of DeWalt drill stuff or whatever. And I don't know. I guess that's why. I was going to say I don't buy DeWalt, but that's probably why I got it. Just saying. No, I didn't. But again, I did my research, and I just didn't want DeWalt. I'm not so sure their later stuff is of the... Of course, it's not going to be at an equal quality because there's no brand that you could say that. But, keeping up with the cheapness, so to speak, I didn't, no. I wound up on my drill and impact driver, I went with Porter Cable. And it wasn't because that's what I was aiming for. It's because they're known for making a decent tool. And believe it or not, there was a website called Woot, and there was a deal on there for the pair, and they were the brushless. It was right when the brushless stuff was coming out, and so I got a real nice Porter Cable set, impact and drill. Got a good price on it and stuff. And that's the other thing too. Not always. And there's a few that break this, but not always should you look at just one particular company. Drones, like I say, I like DJI, but hell, if you could afford to have something custom built for you, that's great. But there are other companies. There's Autel, and there are other companies out there. There are other choices. But I really only recommend for the DJI. But there's a lot of stuff, you name it, clothes, backpacks, shoes, you name it. There's a lot of stuff out there that there's a lot of different brands, and to be honest, a lot of the different brands are good. I'm not, especially when it comes to, say, apparel and stuff like that, I'm not very knowledgeable in those areas. I know I got, for my boots, I got Timberlands because I know that they're a good boot. So that's why I got a pair of those. I can't remember the brand that Jen's got offhand. But now she has to have. We had to have a special consideration for her boots. I had to get a boot that zips up. The side zips up, because her ankles don't bend. So getting a long boot, I should say, on would be a nightmare and possibly impossible to do. So that's why I have to have a boot that zips up the side. So anyway, just use your head. Don't get caught up in the keeping up with the Joneses thing. Keep an eye on, just be mindful. A lot of the people that are selling stuff on the YouTubes, they don't know a lot about the items they're selling, and that's bad news. If somebody comes along that doesn't know a lot either and just goes with whatever because they like the person's personality, it doesn't matter how much you like the person. That product's not for you. It's not for you. I do see from time to time people will buy stuff like they'll buy a power bank or whatever, and it won't be big enough for their needs. They'll kind of have a misconception of how much like capacity they would need. Sometimes they have a misconception on how many watts they need to run items, or how long a certain capacity at a certain, there's a lot of people that really don't know the ins and outs of that, and that's understandable. But unfortunately, a lot of times if people really feel good about something because of something they saw, something they watched, they'll go ahead and go with it instead of, I think it's more the impulse buying ideal. I've not really ever been much in my life able to afford impulse buying. I have, though. I'm saying that. I'm saying that jokingly. No, I've wasted a fortune before. Just 'cause I ain't got crap today doesn't mean that I never have, and yeah, I was horrible with it. I was bad. This is who I am today. I wasn't always this way. It was not always. I was one of the phone freaks. I had to. And by the way, I see there's 5 people in here, and I want to thank you. I want to sincerely thank the 5 people in here for choosing me over Joe Biden. Thank you. Anyway, I couldn't resist that. Oh, you guys are like chatting away up there. Jeez. I can't even remember where I was going. Hey, I got some tabs open. How about we take a look at these damn things? Alright, this is 6,700 plus is what this says. Let me do a refresh and just okay, that's what it still says as of this time. So I don't know. I'm sure that there's probably even more up-to-date numbers than that. It's just insane. And like I said, when I saw it come in, that moment I told Jen this is going to be thousands. Really, it's crazy. It's a shame. So thoughts and prayers, most certainly, to all those in Turkey and Syria and all those affected by it. So, anyway, not a whole lot more really to say on that. We've already covered it, and but I will keep up on the numbers. So. They're saying 6,706 dead, and what they're saying is 36,259 injured. That's Syria. Wait, is this separate? Oh, okay. No, this is a total. Okay. Sorry. Okay. This is the serious side. All right. Sorry, I was trying to make sure that I had that number correct for as far as a total. So that's crazy. That is crazy. Now this here is the 3.8 that happened in New York, and I will go ahead since this hasn't been so widely covered. It has, I guess, quite a bit. Buffalo, second largest city in the U.S. state of New York, was shaken by a 3.8 magnitude earthquake on Monday. The tremor was the most powerful in the area for 4 decades, but did not cause any material damage, local authorities said. According to the United States Geological Survey, nearly 3,000 local residents felt the quake, which occurred at about 6:15 a.m. It struck 1.24 miles or 2 kilometers east-northeast of West Seneca, a suburb of Buffalo, with a depth of 1.86 miles. Governor Kathy Hochul posted a tweet confirming the tremor, writing that no damage has been reported at this time. Deputy Commissioner of Erie County Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Gregory J. Butcher, said shockwaves. Could you imagine the thing on his door, right, for his office? Anyway, said shockwaves were felt as far north as Niagara Falls and in Orchard Park to the south. Not only that, but also on his desk, the Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz described the quake as feeling like a car hit my house in Buffalo, adding that he had jumped out of bed. Yareb Altawil, I guess, a seismologist at National Earthquake Information Center, was quoted by NBC News as saying that the earthquakes happen all the time in the U.S. Northeast. I didn't think they happened all the time in the Northeast, unless they're like real super tiny or something. Since 1983, seismologists have recorded 24 tremors above a magnitude 2.5 in the West Seneca region. Let's see, since 1983, though. So that's not like California, though, with Mondays being the most powerful. Also on Monday, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake wreaked havoc thousands of kilometers away as it hits... Oh, this is the one about Turkey. Sorry. So yeah, in comparison to like California, I was gonna say I didn't think they had a whole lot. I mean, we get them here in the Midwest too. I mean, but it's just that's what it is. It's small and it's just one here and one there. So you talk about what was that? 83. I just wanted to make sure that you're talking 40 years, right? 40 years of tremors. Yeah. We probably had that many here in the Midwest. I never looked it up, but I would say likely so. But again, with that, I do want to emphasize that I do expect it to pick up. So, for a couple of reasons. Not only what I've been saying with pole shift, but also just simply because we're going into, I guess it would be a solar maximum, and the sun's waking up and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So there could be a number of different things going on with people right now that they may or may not understand because the sun's messing with them, you know. But you're also going to see an increase in earthquake activity, and I don't know for sure correlation to storm activity, but I would like to look into that. I'm sure Ben covers that, and I'm just not pulling out what's connected to what. So I know, Ben. Watch the playlist. Let's see. Musk doubts public awareness of World War III risk. And I saw this headline, and it kind of, I don't know, it kind of set me down, if you will. I mean, there's labels that all kinds of people put on folks that don't keep up with this stuff, normies or whatever. I'm not a fan on just throwing a label on everybody, but you know, there are most certainly individuals that don't keep up on news, that don't. It's just not something that's a part of their life normally. And that is what it is. But to think that there's a very large amount of people that are unaware about the tensions that are between the different nations, at least on enough of a level to know that we are certainly in an elevated risk for a breakout. Conflict breaking out. We're close. We're real close. And I just think that this is shocking. Anyway, I'm going to read a little bit what it said. The majority of people are not even aware that the New World War may erupt soon, billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk has stated. The risk of a global catastrophe was highlighted this week by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The UN head said in a speech to the General Assembly on Monday that he feared that humanity was marching toward a wider war with its eyes wide open and urged preserving peace. Could we please not do World War III? Pleaded conservative political commentator Luke Rudkowski. I know that guy. Reacting to the speech, Musk responded, "Most are oblivious to the danger." I'm sure Luke was happy that Musk responded to him. The Twitter and SpaceX CEO previously warned against relentless escalation of the conflict in Ukraine, stating that it was dangerous for the country itself and the world. Musk won praise for supplying SpaceX Starlink satellite internet systems to the Ukrainian government, with some experts assessing that they were a game changer in the fight against Russia. But he also suggested that Kiev would have to make concessions to Moscow in order to achieve peace, a notion that prompted some Ukrainian officials to harshly criticize and even insult the businessman. Mikhail Podolyak, an aide to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, claimed last week that Musk was using his control of Twitter to reduce the reach of Ukrainian official accounts and help Russian propaganda. I don't think so. Maybe a regulator is needed to explain competition rules to the owner, Podolyak mused. The Ukrainian official offered no evidence to support his claims or explanation of how his regulatory threat could be carried out. So I don't think Musk is swaying Twitter one way or the other. In fact, I think Twitter's probably, if anything, probably the most accurate now as it's ever been, as far as, interaction, what you can see, people not being banned, I don't know. It's, some people are cheering and saying it's great over there. Other people, and I'm even talking like on the same team, so to speak, politically, and others on the same team politically saying that Twitter's dying, that it's crashing and burning. So I don't know. I don't really care. I use it to put out the news headlines. You see me doing that. That's it. I don't even converse on Twitter. I don't. No interest. It is a great place to put the articles, though, and it's a great way to keep them organized for me to cover on the news, and great way to be able to put out different news during the day to anybody that's looking for it. It's not many places that don't cover things like sports and entertainment, and it's very rare that I will cross over. Anywho, I keep talking about this. I keep saying it's something we need to be mindful of, because a lot of people, when you bring up countries like Iran, they're just like, because they have no idea. Iran, and I've used this term a number of times because it's, I believe, to be pretty damned accurate, is like a hornet's nest. If you kick Iran, you're going to see jets, missiles, you name it, flying out of so many holes in the ground, you won't be able to see straight. That place is you want to talk about one hell of a fortified place. Look, it's not like it's as big as the United States. What area they have fortified to hell and back, believe me. And they've funneled much of their money for defense into short and medium range weapons, and the defense for short and medium range weapons. I would say if you took Iran's offensive capability, because believe me, I'm sure that they can do plenty, and you match that up with, say, I don't know, Russia's air defense system, especially one of the later ones, like a 400 or 500, or I think there's a 550, I think, is the latest. That's going to be a hard nut to crack. They've got a fair amount of troops. They've got bases everywhere. I don't know, I'm just saying. Not even going to read it all. I mean, it is what it is. It's another underground base that they revealed. I don't know why they reveal them, but and I'm sure, of course, they don't reveal all of them. But there's a tunnel, obviously, and then they got a runway. I mean, it's well, they got a video here. Hang on, let's watch the video.
ایران حالا مجدداً
Isn't this cool?
پیام می‌کنه.
Oh, quit, play.
این صدای قرش از دل کوه است.
حالا ارتش جمهوری اسلامی ایران برای اولین بار به خبرگزاری
Now I know you know what they're saying.
که از یکی از پایگاه‌های تاکتیکی نیروی هوایی در افق
So could you fill me in?
گزارش تهیه کند. جنگنده‌های این پایگاه مسلح به انواع موشک‌های گروه
Hey, you might want to duck, dude, or like
برای حمله به
step to the
اهداف
side.
در عمق خاک دشمن هستند.
Gonna hurt.
دلیل
Oh, man.
استقرار این اسکادرون‌ها
And they don't
در
even have a
دل
stoplight at that
ایران که
intersection.
رسانه ملی اجازه دارد تنها بخشی
That
از
isn't
آن را
gonna
به
end
دلایل
well.
حفاظتی نشان دهد مقابله و
Hey, what happens if somebody's trying to get out and somebody's trying to get in?
بمب‌های سنگرشکن و ضد استحکامات است که توسط بمب‌افکن‌های راهبردی آمریکا
You guys are
حمل
taking
می‌شود.
notes, right?
در صورت عبور از سپرهای دفاعی هیچ بمب سنگرشکنی نمی‌تواند خللی در عملیات‌های این
Do they even got one of
پایگاه
those?
زمینی ایجاد کند. این پایگاه تاکتیکی می‌تواند تا چند ماه در صورت نیاز سوخت و
I
مهمات
do joke a little
جنگنده‌های
bit because there are some things they just don't got.
و مأموریت‌هایش
They don't got our fighter
انجام
jets.
دهد.
They don't, you know. But I mean, again, they're loaded for bear with short and medium range
در
weapons.
حضور رئیس ستاد کل نیروهای مسلح و فرمانده کل ارتش از محل آلرت پایگاه انجام می‌شود.
Yay. How long is this damn video? Oh, it's almost over. So there. I don't know. Make a cool house, wouldn't it? Alright. Moving on. Pentagon grounds aircraft after reassessing crash risk. Ospreys. Something to do with the clutch. They won't, divulge how many of the aircraft are affected or how long they're going to be out of service. But, yeah. Might be a little while. I don't know if they've already got a fix. Yeah, okay. So they're in the works to provide a permanent solution. So I guess it's a matter right now just having to change them out after they get so much time or abuse done on them. They just have to change them out. So let's see. An Osprey only costs like $70 million, so that's pretty cheap. No, they're pretty cool. I play with one in the simulator, and it's pretty cool. I like it. Is it something that, I like to fly all the time? Nah, I'm not necessarily into. I mean, that's cool to do some stuff with, but it doesn't fit most of what I do for enjoyment, for relaxing. I like to do bush flying, flying, landing out in the sticks and all that good stuff, just stuff like that. And I also like to do fighters and stuff like that, high and fast, low and fast. It doesn't matter. But those are fun. They're definitely fun. A little tricky too. Strikes threaten power and fuel supply in France. As if they needed anything else. Here says a nationwide strike against a proposed pension reform in France is jeopardizing the country's power and fuel supply, France 24 reported on Tuesday. Electricity supply in the country was down by 3.7 gigawatts as output dropped at 2 nuclear reactors and several thermal plants, the media outlet reported, citing data from power provider EDF. No disruption was reported at hydraulic power plants, but EDF posted a strike notice for Thursday. Meanwhile, French refineries also reported trouble due to the walkouts, with Total Energies saying that they were causing interruptions in the shipping of petrol products. However, the company rushed to assure consumers that no shortages have so far been recorded at fueling stations and that supply levels were largely satisfactory. So, spokesman for the CGT union told Reuters there were delivery disruptions at the Donges, Normandy, Vaison, Woodall, and Flanders. I got that one, Flanders. Refineries with roughly 75% of staff on strike. And thank you, Simpsons. The French government presented its pension. Well, I mean, Flanders. Its pension reform plan earlier this month, which will raise the retirement age for most French workers from the current 62, the lowest in the EU, to 64, and increase the total number of years people must work in order to qualify for a full pension. So, yeah. Craziness. Why don't we see more of this in the United States? I just, I wonder if it could have anything to do with the copious amounts of antidepressants that are prescribed in this country. No correlation, I'm sure. I just got huffed for that. Just so you know. All right. China, and I said this earlier at the beginning of the show, China wants its balloon back. I think that's humorous as hell. But anyway, Chinese Foreign Ministry has requested the President Joe Biden administration return debris from the air balloon that the U.S. military shot down off America's East Coast on Saturday, saying the aircraft belongs to China. Probably says it was made there right on the label. Just look. Speaking at a press briefing on Tuesday, ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning was asked whether Beijing had asked for the balloon debris to be returned. The airship does not belong to the U.S., she said. It belongs to China. Ning's comments came 3 days after a U.S. fighter jet shot down the balloon, alleged by American officials to be a spying aircraft, off the coast of South Carolina. The Pentagon claims to have detected the balloon on Wednesday. Biden faced fierce criticism for allowing the balloon to cross the continent, passing over a nuclear missile site and other sensitive military assets before bringing it down. The balloon was a civilian meteorological research airship that entered U.S. airspace inadvertently after being blown off course, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said on Friday. Ning said some U.S. politicians and media outlets hyped the incident to attack and smear China. She declined to provide any more details about the airship on Tuesday. The Chinese side has given information about the unmanned ship on several occasions, Ning said. I don't have anything to add at the moment. She added that the U.S. government failed to respond in a calm and professional manner, instead overreacting to an incident that posed no security threat and didn't endanger any Americans. U.S. Senator Steve Daines, a Montana Republican, speculated that Chinese officials sent the balloon across North America to probe Washington's response. This was really more of a trial balloon by the Chinese, Daines told Fox News on Monday. He added that Biden was indecisive, projecting weakness. It was exactly what the Chinese wanted to see happen. And I will stand behind the same things that I've said about this balloon. I think it was a civilian research balloon. Look, had we had a mature government that's looking for solution, maybe reach out to China at the first opportunity when you know it's there. And if they want to say it's innocent equipment, you got it flying over our nation, okay, let's bring it down. Whoever's controlling the balloon, let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, safe landing. You're putting it in our airspace over our country. Let's bring it down. Let's take a look at it with representatives from your country. I mean, come on. All they have to do is hop on a plane and fly here. Bring it down. Let the United States make sure that it's just weather research equipment. Either let them take the damn thing back up and fly it home. Because if I'm right, that's exactly what would happen. If I'm right, and it was a weather research balloon that got blown off course, they were just waiting for it to come back around. They would have landed it and collected it. I'm sure it cost more than $1.99. I don't believe our government's angle on this for a second. I really don't. There are too many things that just don't add up for it to be a spy balloon. Nonsense. As far as getting blown off course, I don't know how this thing, how it navigates now. I did see people conversing in one of the airplane groups on social media, talking about how it had, I guess, propellers or something on it to help guide it. So I don't know. It's very, very likely, very possible that's what it was using. But your amount of control is so limited, it's unreal. You don't have a whole lot. You can steer it around a little bit, but you're still going to go with the flow. That's all there is to it. You're going to go with the flow. So, I don't know. I wasn't there. It's not my balloon. I can't say 110,000% absolute that I'm right on this. But the official narrative, don't pass the sniff test. And I sniffed it. I didn't take Biden's opinion on when he sniffed it. It just doesn't pass the sniff test, folks. And I think that governments are pandering idiocy to get you to support a military action against the Chinese, against Russians. It's insane. And I am concerned for the future of the world, the planet. This ain't just about us. There's a lot of us on this planet. A lot of us don't want all this crap. We don't want none of the conflicts, none of the, and I know some people say, well, yeah, but Russia reached out and smacked. There's been a lot of stuff going on for a long time, and I'll repeat about myself not being there to know exactly all the details, the truth of everything that's gone on. What I do know is that the Ukrainian government is a neo-Nazi regime. Plain and simple. I don't need to go any further. I don't need to know more. I am not in support of that. I'm not saying I'm in support of Putin. I don't have to put support behind one. I can choose to abstain. I think that it should be up to the people. And in the cases of several regions and in those countries, the people have spoken. And have spoken that they wanted to be a part of Russia. Now, can I say whether or not those votes were honest and fair? And no, I wasn't there. Had nothing to do with it. But can you? I can't say that. YouTube has slapped me. Yeah, right. Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know anymore on how the vote went with China, not China, with Russia, when it involving, say, like the Crimea, when they did that, and the Donbass, and the Lugansk, and what is it, Kherson, I think. We don't know any more the truth about that election than elections. I'm being an idiot, so pardon me. I'm enjoying my moment. I think it's humorous. I think it's downright hilarious on some level that I can't just come out and talk about something, talk about a controversy with something without getting in trouble. And it's, I don't know. It's kind of humorous. It really is, because people can try to fearmonger you all they want on it, but you know what? You know the deal, right? I know the deal. You know the deal. Who's got to, do the pride thing, stick the chest out and have to say it? I mean, as long as people know, that's what's important. That is what is important. Pandering to something so that, I don't know, you're making some kind of an idol of yourself or whatever, that's not so much. Tell you what, we're going to have some crazy times coming, I think. But I don't think Russia's backing off. I don't see that situation calming down. I don't know. I'm concerned. Let's see. I gotta have a couple of vapes. We'll get the headlines done. And what was that? Oh, man. It's good stuff. Pink Starburst. That's what I'm fogging up the living room with. Good stuff. Alright. Alright, starting from articles put out from this morning. Palestinians killed in West Bank raid. Bank of England blames Brexit for excess inflation. India and Russia poised to bypass dollar in energy deal, says Novatech. Biden explains refusal to send F-16s to Ukraine. Well, you remember that time that Biden explained his refusal to send tanks to Ukraine? Huh? We still got like a couple of weeks, right? We still got like a couple of weeks. We'll see if he proves me wrong. Give me 2 more weeks to see if he decides to send F-16s. U.S. to slap steep tariff on Russian aluminum, says Bloomberg. Trump takes aim at Pulitzer Prize Board. I think, yeah, we still got 2 weeks left. I said it was like the beginning of last week that I said 2 to 3 weeks. So, yeah. Well, there'll be another update on that. In fact, actually, I already covered the update. New York State, covered that. The earthquake in New York. There's a couple of double, shared from a couple of different outlets and stuff on articles. EU sold its soul to Russia, says Poland. Musk doubts public. Covered that one. BP joins big oil profit bonanza. So remember, we saw Exxon. What was that? Is this like every night? I guess like what? Didn't Sunday night it was Exxon. Last night it was Shell. Right now it's BP. Tonight it's BP bragging about their profits. While everybody having issues heating their homes and having fuel to get to work and stuff like that. Yeah. It's nice to know. They're making money. Kiev inching closer to conceding defeat, says ex-Russian president. Russia has lost confidence in the U.S. dollar, says an official. Ukraine purges libraries of Russian language books, says an official. A poll reveals Republican attitudes to Ukraine ceding territory. Moscow gives update on Ukrainian losses. EU no longer dictates price for Russian oil, says Rosneft CEO. Millions to be impacted by Turkey-Syria earthquake, says WHO. U.S. reaction to Chinese balloon was hysteria, says Moscow. Harry Potter video game to feature transgender characters, says media. And again, I normally don't do entertainment type of stuff, but I thought, that's news-ish enough. Let's see, covered that. Russia warns of unpredictable escalation in Ukraine. A grandfather of the MP3 dies in Israel. So, again, it's not necessarily news that's going to affect your life tomorrow. But that's still pretty significant. Thank you, sir, for your contribution. A ban on Russian media protects freedom of expression, says Burrell. Firearm discharged at U.S. base hosting president's plane. U.S. clarifies stance on talks with Assad amid devastating earthquake. BBC apologizes for guest claim about J.K. Rowling. Again, that's more entertainment and kind of stuff, but still, it delves into the news sphere, if you will. A Chechen leader predicts end of Ukraine conflict. I'm pretty sure he's got a crystal ball. Finland's president speaks out on NATO bid without Sweden. Major crypto exchange to suspend U.S. dollar transfers. So, I don't know anything about this stuff. I would imagine that's probably a pretty big deal. So, Iran... I covered that. EU reveals exemptions for sanctioned Russian oil products. Yeah, like anything they need. Russia-U.S. trade continues to plummet. Yeah, I haven't ordered nearly as many Russian mail-order brides. No, I've really cut back on that. Let's see. Top seismologist warns Russian region may suffer similar quake as Turkey. Kamala Harris hid from reporters for a year, says New York Times. No kidding. You're just now catching this? This is crazy. Schoolgirl stabs classmate over 100 times. Oh, hey, yeah, something I don't think I shared it out. This happened, was it Hell, I don't remember. I'm not sure exactly what town this happened in, but it was here local St. Louis area. There's an entertainment place, I guess, if you will, called Sky Zone. I don't know if that's a franchise, a chain or something, I don't know. But they got a bunch of stuff you can crawl around on and climb up on and stuff like that for kids, right? And I guess it's a spot that a lot of teens hang out. And there was like a brawl of like over 150 teens at this Sky Zone place. And just crazy teens. And yeah, apparently they put out the all hands on deck and the whole 9 yards. That you know, there was a lot of officers that were requested to respond to that situation. Well, yeah, you got 150 kids that are all smacking on one another. It doesn't matter that they're kids, just the number of them is going to give it, you know, a problem. But yeah, that just kind of happened. Hang on. Well, I pretty much told you the gist. There's not much more the article could really help you. Let's see. EU top diplomat can't hide his racist worldview, says Lavrov. U.S. issues request to Israel over West Bank, says media. U.S. congressman calls for end to funding of Kiev's army. Fires and clashes break out at French protest. Covered that. Germany reveals how many tanks it will send to Ukraine. Twitter suspends U.S. lawmaker's account. West uses chemical weapons watchdog to justify its aggression, says Moscow. I've personally witnessed that. Americans threatened by dissent, says Kissinger. Remember the whole thing with the baby incubators back in, well, that was the early 90s, I think. The baby incubators and all that stuff. Wasn't that, I think that was like the first round in the Middle East. I think that was like Desert Storm or whatever. That was pre 9/11, if I'm not mistaken. Because there was all kinds of the news was involved heavily with faking chemical gas attacks and stuff like that. We've covered that stuff on this show. There's video. If I play the video now, they will nail me for it. So they don't like us talking about that. Like CNN was one of them, and I mean it was so fake, it was unreal. So like, okay, get this, like, you've got incoming chemical weapons, right? And missiles incoming with chemical weapon warheads of some kind, right? And you've got the people scurrying because the sirens are going off. And I think you were kind of hearing some kind of in the air and stuff too. And so you got one guy, I kid you not, there's a video of it. You've got one guy that grabs a helmet. And he's putting on this metal helmet, right? The other guy grabs the gas mask and puts it on, but no helmet. And the guy with the helmet doesn't have a gas mask. And it was comical, because had that been a real situation, they're both gonna want helmets and gas masks. Oh, it was so damn comical. It really truly was. It was that poorly done. It was that poorly done. Anyway, we're well known for the that chemical weapons gag. Let's see. Church of England discusses gender-neutral God. You know what would be cool to bring back? Burning at the stake. I'm just completely unrelated, but Moscow says it's ready to have normal talk with West. Burning at the stake's not normal? Okay. Vietnam War crime survivor gets justice in court. Nearly 2/3 of Americans say U.S. is headed the wrong way, says a poll. Only 2/3. Well, I put this damn thing in reverse. Oh, yeah, and I told you that China wants their balloon back. I just want to make sure everybody knows that China wants their balloon back. I don't think they're going to get it back. Folks, I really don't think it was anything nefarious. I wouldn't joke about it so much. Well, maybe I would. I can't say that. I've got a pretty dark, twisted humor. But, I don't think it was anything that we should have needed to be concerned with. I think it was probably a research balloon. I don't know. I really wish our government didn't have to be all involved in a bunch of mama drama. Crazy. That's probably the thing that concerns me the most about the road forward. Is because we don't even have any true leadership in this country. And while we may see a prospect for a good one here and there, as I've said many times, that's like putting a nice, clean, pure drop of water into a lake of toxins and thinking you really made a difference. I'm not saying don't shine. Shine on, you crazy diamond, and I mean that. But we got to be realistic with what it is that we have control to change, and that's not honestly a whole lot. Not for most of us anyway. What we can focus on, beating that dead horse with that stick again, is being ready. That's all we can control. All we can control is our ability to respond to whatever the hell it is they throw our way. Whether it be spy balloons, I don't know. Maybe they're going to start poking holes in all the condoms they send over here. I don't know. Who knows? Just make sure you're ready to take care of whatever you may need in and around your locality, no matter how far out that locality may go. Might be your home, might be your block, might be your town, might be the county. Whatever you can do. Anyway, I'm going to get the hell out of here and relax. I'm going to go to bed. And God willing, I'll wake up in the morning and you'll see me tomorrow night. So I hope everybody has a good night. I hope to see you tomorrow. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.